Going to start with a slip knot. This is a 4-row repeat pattern. Although 2 of the rows are the same pattern, you just have a different row pattern in between the 2. It is going to be a multiple of 4 plus 3. I am going to do 39 stitches to 39 chains for my foundation chain. Chain. So we're going to skip the first 2. We're going to go into the 3rd chain from the hook, and I like to go into the back bump, which is right there, and going to start with a double crochet. And continue to make a double crochet in every stitch. Till you get to the end of the row. Okay, I'm at the end of that row, the end of row 1. For row 2, chain 1, turn your work, and we're going to do a regular single crochet in the first stitch. So going through both loops, single crochet, and then all of the other stitches in this row, except for the last one, is going to have a single crochet in the front loop only. So if you're looking at your work and you've got your front loop and your back loop, you go into your front loop only, and do that all the way across until you get to the last stitch. When you get to your last stitch, it is going to be a regular single crochet where you go through both stitches. And that is the end of row 2. For row 3, chain 2, turn your work, double crochet in the first stitch, and then the next stitch is also going to be a double crochet, but we are going to do the double crochet at the top of the row 2 rows below. So here is your single crochet, and here is your double crochet. So this stitch right here is a front loop of that first row double crochet. So you're going to go into that front loop, and that is where you're going to complete your double crochet. And then the next 3 stitches are going to be double crochets. Make sure when you are doing your next stitch after you do that front loop stitch, you should have a stitch behind that looks like you skipped one where you did the spike stitch going down. And after you do 3 double crochets, this is where your 4-stitch pattern is. So the beginning of the row was a double crochet, and then you start your 4-stitch pattern. So you do your front loop only, kind of your spike front loop only, double crochet, and then you do 3, and then you're just going to repeat that for the remaining part until you get to the end. So make sure that you're skipping 1, 2, 3 of those front loops and go into the 4th one. And that is where your spike front loop only double crochet goes. And then do 3 double crochets. And then another spike front loop only. Three double crochets. And repeat that pattern. Okay, and the end of row 3 is 3 double crochets is how you're going to end that row. That is the end of row 3. For row 4, chain 1, and it's just going to be a repeat of row 2 where you start with a single crochet and then you do front loop only, single crochets all the way to the end, and the very last stitch is going to be a regular single crochet. Okay, that is the end of row 4. For row 5, which is the last row in your repeat, chain 2, and it is basically the same as row 3 except for the way you begin and end it, because you need these spike stitches to be staggered for the pattern. And so the only way to get that pattern is to start the rows that you do those with differently. So if you look right here on the edge, you can see some rows begin with 3 double crochets and other rows begin with 1 double crochet and end with 3 double crochets. So for row 5, you will do a double crochet in the first 3 stitches. And if you're going along your project and you can't remember which row you ended with, you put your project down for the day and come back to it another day and you can't remember where you stopped, it's not difficult. You don't really have to keep track of it. You can just look down and know that you're not going to put a spike stitch right here. The spike stitch needs to be in between the 2 spike stitches down there. So that's going to tell you that you need to start with your 3 double crochets and then do your spike front loop only stitch. and then go into your repeat pattern. So do 3 double crochets, and front loop only spike double crochet, and then back to 3 double crochets. And that pattern gets repeated all the way down. The end of row 5, the pattern is going to end with doing your front loop only spike double crochet, and then the very last stitch is going to be a double crochet. And that is the end of row 5. So you just repeat rows 2 through 5 until you get to how big you want your project to be. So row 2 and row 4 are going to be the same thing. Row 3 and row 5 are going to be the same 4-stitch pattern. The only difference being row 3 begins with 1 double crochet and ends with 3 double crochets, and row 5 begins with 3 double crochets and ends with 1 double crochet. So you just have to alternate the way that pattern works so that you get this staggered pattern. This is going to be my last row. And I'm going to stop. I'm going to cut my yarn and tie it off. I'm just going to make a couple of knots on the end like I do all of my washcloths. And then I'm going to weave in my ends. This is not a reversible pattern. The back side is pretty flat. I also did it in a 5mm hook just to see which size I liked better.